Welcome to Qatar KickAround, the nightly wrap-up and discussion of the day's action in the 2022 World Cup. From the group stage to the final, our team is here, keeping you on top of the world's most watched sporting event. Brought to you by Westwood One Sports.
Howdy-ho, and welcome to Matchday 10 of Qatar KickAround, our nightly or late afternoon daily wrap-up show of the action at the 2022 World Cup over there in Qatar. Hi, I'm Peter, tagging along with Mr. World Cup Smarty Pants, Andy Swift.
Hello.
And, you know him, you love him. Live from London, Lars Sivertson.
Hello, Peter. How's it going?
It is good, Lars. We are now, I'd say, chest deep in this slog known as the World Cup. Oh, stupid bed. Stop doing that.
It's very
Welcome
jaunty.
It is very
I was
jaunty.
feeling a little bit tired today, so maybe we should just play it for a while.
Just keep playing it over and over and over.
Keep playing the bed, man.
Chaotic enough for you today? This afternoon?
I enjoyed it. It was a big one for Permutations FC.
It was. And the lesson is, coaches know their permutations. They will know.
See, Lars?
And we will bring this up as we
yeah.
talk about all this. Why it was important to know that today.
Just point of order. I've never argued that permutations are not important or not fun.
Are you sure?
You made fun
No,
of us.
Yes,
what
you
I've
mocked
made,
us.
What you did, sir.
What I've made fun of is spending a lot of time a week before a game saying, "What if Wales beat England 4-0?" And this sort of thing is there's no need for this. But absolutely the permutations are good fun, and I'm excited that we nearly had another team eliminated on fair play points, which is only happened
that was
once
close.
before.
Huh?
And we were only for a period we were dangerously close to the possibility of a random draw, which would have been amazing.
Would they have broadcast that?
The last time we had a random draw was 1990.
Drawing of lots.
1990. And it was basically to see who went second or third when they had a wild card.
Right.
I don't remember. I don't remember if they televised it or not back then. It's a good question.
I mean, in true FIFA style, I'm stealing someone else's joke off the internet here, but they would have found a way to make it boring. You know, Infantino would have held a very long speech. Pitbull would have performed. You know, it would have been all very strange.
The Qatar Supreme Commander would have.
Yes.
It should have been the two managers at 10 paces is what it should have been. And the surviving manager got to put his team through to the knockout stage.
What is the drawing of lots? Anyways,
Who would
a
do
short
well
stick?
in a shootout, manager-wise?
Well, I'm sorry, Andy. We rely on you to know these things.
I thought it
Don't
was
look
a
at
short
me.
Stick.
I'm assuming it's some sort of ball,
Yeah.
like a buck, like a
No, they
fish
get a
bowl
kid
with a
and the
bowl.
kid in a hat, and
Who do
they
you think
tear out
would
little
be?
pieces of paper.
But like out of Tata Martino and the Polish guy, who do you think is the better shot? I mean, that's a difficult
If
one
it
to
went to
call.
a draw, man,
Yeah.
what a fascinating way
10
to do it.
paces,
10
yeah,
paces.
that would have been.
I think Carlos Queiroz would do well at that. For some reason, he strikes me as a guy who might be able to shoot someone if it
He's
came
handled
to
a firearm in his
I
life.
don't know, man.
Man, he is getting so dumped on this in the World Cup. Queiroz.
Yeah, well,
Everybody's going after him. We got
I mean,
Klinsmann,
am I
we got
dumping on him by
Lars.
saying that he looks like he could handle himself in an armed conflict? I mean, a lot of people
okay.
would consider that to be a
True.
compliment.
Good point.
well, we will start with the insanity of Group C, which confusingly were the later games of the day. I still haven't figured out why FIFA does that, but Group C were the later games, and it was the crazy mix of permutations, and we were literally at a point very, very late in these games being played simultaneously where the standings of Group C could change without anybody scoring a goal.
Explain.
No, you explain.
Explain.
Somebody, no, this is not my place. I set things up.
Yeah.
You guys do the details.
The reason is because Poland and Mexico had prior results that matched each other quite evenly. They both drew 0-0. Poland beat.
So go by the order of the tiebreaker, if you
Yeah,
could,
the order of
please.
tiebreaker is points, then goal difference, then
And they
goal
were tied
scored,
they were tied on points, goal difference, goal scored.
then head to head. They tied 0-0. And then it comes down to yellow cards. And heading into the match, or the matches, Poland had 6 and Mexico had 4.
Okay, they said something during the broadcast that confused me because they were talking about points being assigned as values to the cards.
Right. Yeah, that's if red cards come into play.
Ah, so red
Or
cards.
second yellows and that kind of thing.
Okay. All
They
right.
have all different kinds. But all these were straight yellows. So if at any point, and remember, Mexico lost to Argentina 2-0. And Poland beat Saudi Arabia 2-0 previously. So if at any point Poland was losing to Argentina 2-0, and if Mexico would have been beating Saudi Arabia 2-0, they would have been completely even on all the tiebreakers. And we got to that point.
And we got to that point when I guess it was about the 60th minute,
Yeah,
50, 60th.
pretty late.
It was late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of that reason, Poland had the advantage. They were +2 advantage on yellow cards, and now a Polish player got a yellow. And
But
they
that
made it
doesn't-
6-5. So
Oh,
the
Polish player. Right.
Yeah, yeah, a Polish player got a yellow, made it 6-5. So if Poland would have gotten an additional yellow, we would have gone to the next tiebreaker,
Which is the drawing of
the
lots.
drawing of lots.
Lars, have you figured out what the
yeah.
drawing of lots is?
No, I wasn't looking up that at all.
Oh.
But it was very funny because I think we might have, maybe he would have made this decision anyway. But you're right, Andy. I mean, Krychowiak picked up a yellow card, the crazy fool that he is, and brought them closer to damnation by card.
So I'm
and he was very
wondering-
promptly subbed off very shortly.
Oh, he
afterwards.
was. Yeah,
Yes.
because if he gets a second yellow, that would have been worse
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
You know, the other-
Exactly right. And he was actually subbed for a striker. So you could say that was them trying to get back into the game, but of course they weren't creating anything, and they were actually really just trying to keep Argentina from scoring one more.
No, they were
so I
awful.
think that was just a straight up like, mate, you're about to mess this up for us with disciplinary
right,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah, we'll get into Poland. The what do you call them, Lars?
An abomination.
Abomination,
I
exactly.
wrote,
I
I
call-
wrote in the
I
chat.
call them anti-football, but we'll get. But there was another occasion in the whole 90 minutes when it pays off for the coaches and the players too to know the permutations, because towards the end of the game, Saudi Arabia, and then all we needed was Mexico to score one more goal or Argentina to score another goal for the standings to change and for Mexico then to go through instead of Poland. So that was what was that was what everybody was watching for, because Poland wasn't going to get a goal and Saudi Arabia didn't look like they were going to get a goal, but Saudi Arabia in fact did get a goal. They cut the goal difference down to one again, right? Mexico's goal difference.
This is the craziest part of this is even crazier to me than yellow cards, what you're about to say.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, so the Mexican players at that point thought it's over. They thought they were going to have to get an additional 2 goals in that minute and a half.
No.
But no. They just needed to get the 3rd goal because then goal difference would have been even. Again. But now they would have scored more goals. Yeah. And it would have gone to a higher tiebreaker.
Crazy.
And Tata Martino was trying to tell them.
You could see them, yes.
And they were all like, they weren't even trying at that point. They didn't know that they had 90 seconds to go after that last goal. Would they have gotten it? Who knows? But they were all over that.
Really, they looked like they could play for a very long time without scoring again. Mexico. I know they created chances, but they're so toothless. Oh my days!
And isn't that really the problem with all of the nuttiness of the standings and the permutations and this and that? Because what it allows all 4 of these teams to do is not talk about is just how bad all of this soccer was in the group today. Because you know what I'm saying?
Well, it allowed, I guess, Poland to speculate and just really park the bus more so than normal for them because they were outshot today. Shots on goal 12-0, shots 23-4.
Okay,
and so they knew they could still absorb some goals and still go through. And
I would say that
lends itself to ugly soccer.
I'm not convinced that their approach was conditioned by that. I just thought they're just a bad team who couldn't do any better.
They're awful.
You got to feel
really
bad for Lewandowski.
Yeah, he's just hanging around up there like, guys, can someone maybe try to get me the ball at some point? Just move it forward.
I suppose, yeah. I mean,
where are my people?
Yes,
right. There's this thing about, I forget his name, but the guy in the moon landings who wasn't on the moon, the guy who stayed up in the capsule.
I forgot his name.
Yeah?
Exactly, that's Lars's point.
The guy who wasn't Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong, the guy who stayed in the capsule, right?
Yeah.
There's this great fact about, well, first of all, he took a photo of the Earth and the Moon, and famously, he's the only person in existence to not be in that photo, which is cool. So second of all, he was like the single person who'd been the furthest away from any other person ever. Because as he was circling up in the capsule, he was like further away from other humans than any other human has ever been, if you know what I'm saying.
Michael Collins.
Yeah. I'm just saying he might have a competitor in terms of Lewandowski's distance, the distance between him and all his teammates. That's kind of, Michael Collins is what Lewandowski was. Thank you for helping me with that very bad analogy. But he was the Michael Collins of football. He was up there on his own. You could see all human life in the distance, and he was not getting help or assistance from anyone. It was sad to see.
Well, we know that ultimately the way it ended up playing out was Argentina goes through, Poland goes through because Mexico ended up giving up that goal late and really just making it pretty
that goal
clean.
Didn't matter at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, they still but
so. I think we all agree Poland is terrible and probably don't deserve to go through. Mexico's probably is definitely a better team, but they certainly didn't perform that way.
Of course, they had their flaws.
And then ultimately, considering that I think all of us picked Argentina to win this thing, are any of us confident at all that Argentina is going to get much further in this tournament based on how they've played in group?
No.
This wasn't even a strong group it turned out to be.
Right, exactly. Messi missed a PK today. He looked average. Right?
By Messi standards.
He
still had some good passes and some good moments.
Yeah.
But I find it hard to judge this game because, again, Poland just didn't want to play and just offered nothing. And Argentina looked a little bit more confident, I thought. But still, well, it wasn't the huge improvement I was hoping for as someone who's tipped him to go far.
No. Now, we know that teams like Argentina, the powers, right, as the tournament progresses, they kind of find their way and grow into the tournament, and they get, by finishing first, it was doubtful a week ago, but now by finishing first in their group, they get the Australians.
Right.
And so it allows them to have another reasonable game to get their thing together. Not that the Australians will be easy. They're a difficult opponent. Much more difficult, I would say, than Poland.
Similar in approach, probably. They will also sit back.
Yeah, they'll show more fight, though.
I think so. That was weird about Poland today. I can't quite You're right.
Maybe
you're
it was
right.
about not getting the yellows. Who knows? Maybe they were permutation
we
FC.
must not get the yellows.
Yeah, who knows? I don't
That
know.
was my favorite. Like, I really try to not like dig out people in the media for saying silly things because I do it all the time, and it's not possible to talk about football in a public, setting for too long without saying something that sounds stupid. But there was a moment on the British broadcast of the Argentina-Poland game where the commentator just explained the situation to the summarizer on the call was Danny Murphy, former Liverpool and Fulham player, and the commentator just explained this thing with the yellow cards. Currently, Poland are going through because they've picked up fewer yellow cards, and Murphy immediately started talking about, but why haven't they picked up more cards? They're being outplayed. They should be kicking Argentina. Show some passion.
Were you not listening?
They just explained why that would
Right.
be bad.
Yes.
that was very strange.
Yeah.
But it was, I would agree that it was slightly anemic, so maybe they had that in the back of their minds for sure. That's possible.
Well, now the CONCACAF perspective, since we're in this region, Mexico bowing out, the U.S. remains the only CONCACAF team, and Costa Rica, very difficult road to hoe in their group. I don't think
We'll talk about that later, yeah.
But so Mexico not advancing. Tata Martino's reign will come to an end. I'm sure he resigned as he's walking in the locker room, or expected to.
I'm sure. Yeah, it is disappointing, but they haven't been good for a while.
Right.
They weren't outstanding in qualification, and they've kind of been consistently middle of the road through the tournament. It is. I mean, look, they have qualified. They have made it out of the group stage. For how many World Cups in a row?
Straight.
Yeah, 7 straight. They were on some sort of, record run themselves instead of dump out at this particular one, especially in this group.
Exactly.
That's the part that's just so maddening.
For them, it comes down two things. That late goal they allowed against Argentina, and we said at the time, that will come back perhaps to haunt them, the goal difference, and it totally did. A late yellow card that game, too, in the 89th. They didn't know. I mean, you don't know that, but it does come back to haunt them. And then the 0-0 against Poland. Ultimately, it came down to that game. And we talked about it. Like, this group, second place is decided today. And they were the better team, and they couldn't score the goal. And so this is what happens. You don't advance. That's thin margins for error in World Cups, right? I mean, that's how it is.
I do agree that they were better than Poland and that they are a better team than Poland, but I'm still not like super impressed by them. And I did watch these games with some interest because they have quite a few players I haven't watched that much because they have some who play domestically, certainly some I just don't see very often, and it's just. Chucky Lozano is obviously an exciting winger, but aside from him, you have the old dudes who were really good 5-6 years ago and who maybe are not as good now, and the new ones who've come through, they're just not great, are they?
Yeah, they're not. No, this is a generation that they're gonna struggle unless they.
Well, it's weird when you watch these games and they were struggling to score. It's like, could they have used Chicha Hernandez? Could they have used Carlos Vela?
I think it's Carlos Vela.
And what kind of weirdo relationship problems between those guys and the federation? I mean, understand this better than I do.
So political in Mexico, and it's part of their downfall, and it's part of what's causing them to, and they're going to have to fix that. Now, by us saying, they're better than Poland, but they're not that good, it's just an indication of how bad Poland is. I mean, it doesn't take much to say they were better than Poland. Doesn't mean that they themselves weren't good. Mexico.
Right. Correct. No, you're absolutely right. It's a weird day. By the way, this is the tournament where I realized that Alexis McAllister who plays for Brighton is not Scottish.
No, he's Argentine. Yeah, he's Irish heritage.
Is that what it is?
There's a big Irish heritage community in both Argentina and Chile.
Okay.
Chile's revolutionary hero, O'Higgins. Irish.
O'Higgins?
Irish, yeah.
Which is the name of a team there, actually. As well.
Also, man, look at Lars.
And also
throwing down the South American knowledge, Chilean soccer knowledge.
Maurizio Pochettino, his hometown, is called Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy. That's very Irish.
Named by an Irish settler who came over and became a cattle farmer. Yeah,
I'm just a dumb American.
He's the man from Murphy.
Messi was very.
I love the sort of the lack of it. Is this our least energetic part of the tournament?
Maybe. I did real quick. I did want to ask you guys about the penalty kick awarded to Messi in the first. Was it the first or second half?
Yeah,
in the first half.
First half.
So I was really surprised that they ended up calling that a foul and giving him the penalty kick.
Yeah.
Did you consult with your friend Lars? And the reason, I guess, we're both asking, and Lars, maybe you agree with us, it seemed like the keeper came out, and it was after Messi headed the ball out that he had the impact with his head, and it didn't really have an effect on the play.
Yeah.
Right? I'm assuming, Peter, this is why you're asking.
Right, correct.
I consulted with my friend, and he said that it's not totally wrong, but there's not enough foul there that VAR should get involved. You can just about justify it being a foul, but you could also it's soft enough that VAR should definitely not get involved in terms of not
right.
it.
And was it a VAR call, not a referee call, or
it
what?
was a VAR call, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So the referee hadn't called it, and
I think that's how it
VAR
went.
had him review it. Yes, because he went to the review
Right.
monitor.
He had not called the penalty kick,
exactly,
and then went back, and they were like, "Oh, we think there was a foul." Because I think play had actually restarted, and they stopped it to go back. I think the ball went out of bounds or something pretty quickly, and then that's when he got called over to look at it. And I saw it on TV, and I went, "Yeah, he punches him in the face, but it's all in the course of."
And it was after Hetty headed the ball. Messi,
it was weird.
Messi headed the ball. It had no impact on the play.
Well,
yeah. So just to be clear, what my former elite refereeing friend said, giving a foul is not 100% wrong. You can justify it, but it wasn't. But not giving it which is what happened, was not wrong enough that VAR should have gotten involved. Was his take on it, and I was kind of in two minds, because on the one hand, I would like for more penalties to be given for when goalkeepers just completely take people out in the box, because it feels like they're just allowed to do that. But this was a bad example, because this wasn't it. There are sometimes you see goalkeepers just come out with knees and elbows pointing everywhere and just smash people in the head and just do whatever they want to get to the ball, and more of those should be penalized. But this wasn't it for me, I have to say.
Well, ball don't lie, does it?
No.
Messi wasn't particularly well struck, could have been struck better, but that was a very good save.
All right.
Yeah. It's
by the way,
Chesney.
Yeah, the keeper. I'm sorry. The keeper was 3 short of tying Tim Howard's record. Yesterday's trivia question.
3 short.
3 short.
Oh yes, I forgot to start the show with Professor Andy's trivia. Well, just go ahead and ask the question now before we go to break.
All right.
We'll answer it in the third segment.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about Denmark, right? So
yes.
every World Cup since the FIFA rankings were introduced, at least one team ranked in the FIFA top 10, quote, like not a world power, essentially a nation not having a World Cup. If you're ranked at the top 10 and you haven't won a World Cup, one of those teams does not get out of group play. Remember Portugal in 2002, the Czech Republic in 2006, Portugal in 2014. This year, 3 teams fit that category: Portugal, Belgium, and Denmark. Denmark, ranked 10th, did not advance, as we'll talk about in the next segment. Australia, ranked 38th, did. Last year, which non-superpower team ranked top 10, they were ranked 6th in the world, did not advance out of their group, while a team that ranked 44th did. Very similar to this.
The 2018 World Cup in Russia.
Last World Cup. This is easy. They were ranked 6th, did not advance. A team ranked 44th did.
All right. You knuckleheads in the chat room, don't answer and ruin it for everybody else. We'll save it and answer it before the end of the show. So at the end of the day, Group C, Argentina goes through with 6 points. Poland over Mexico on goal differential. Mexico only scored 2 goals in 3 games.
How many has the U.S. scored?
Not many. 2, but they're not okay.
No, but my point is this is the World Cup of teams not scoring goals.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I thought you were taking a shot at the Yanks, man.
And also,
no, because they didn't allow
the Mexico goals. One coming after a corner and the other off a direct free kick, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And obviously set pieces count. They count and they're important, but I think if you go out of a tournament having only scored on set pieces, clearly something is not right with the team.
No bueno.
So Mexico is out of the World Cup at the group stage. Ole. When we come back, we will discuss the action in Group D next here on the KickAround.
Qatar Kicker.
Bill Thomas, I sent Bill Thomas a text today about We've arrived at part 2 of Matchday 10 of Qatar KickAround, which is now looking at the action from the earlier games, despite the fact that it is the later group of D. And it was a snoozy pair of games this morning, right, Lars?
I'm just laughing at the comments. Were we not muted?
No, I was telling Andy I was calling somebody, and apparently my mic was live, and everybody wants to know who Bill Thomas is. Hey, Bill. Yes, I was telling Andy I called you earlier today.
Okay, I'm just going to pretend, because I've said things in the ad breaks that, that's good to know for future editions of the Kick Around.
Well, no, usually the mics are muted. I just accidentally unmuted them while we were still in break. So anyway.
This is my greatest fear.
So Group D was largely snoozy, and here's the thing I wanted to ask you, Lars, about Denmark, who has made me look a fool. By the way, here's a question that dawned on me. Well, because I had picked Denmark to make it to the final and lose to Argentina in the final.
Okay.
Are you saying I'm choking, Lars? What's going on? Are you okay?
I forgot that you tipped him to go all the way to the final, and that was such a wild call at the time.
Well,
listen, I also had them doing well. Like, I gotta hold my hands up.
Okay, hold on.
They were our dark horse favorite.
Hold on. Here is my cross to bear. Which was the worst prediction on my part? Denmark making it to the final and losing, or Qatar getting out of their group?
That's difficult to call.
Because I predicted both of those things.
I do think Denmark has to go down as the most wrong there.
You picked Qatar to get out of their group?
I did.
Yikes.
History was on my side.
No, South Africa didn't get out in 2000.
One team out of all the World Cups.
All right, well, there it is.
They were kind of a mystery team. We didn't know.
But that's like, what if like Fiji hosts it and you're like, they're definitely getting out of the group because it's always gotten out of the group before. Like, that's not how sports work.
You picked a pub team to advance.
They won the Asian Cup like 2 years ago.
It's true. It's true.
Nobody was trying.
But no, let's talk about Denmark. It has to be done.
All right, so here's what I want. Let me ask you my question about Denmark, because I think this is interesting. I saw somebody tweet this today, and I wish I could remember who it was so that I could give them credit. But somebody brought up the ideas is that because it's a Scandinavian team, and as you know, Lars, lots of the public of the Scandinavian countries are very much anti-Qatar. There's lots of boycotting going on. And with Denmark walking into the tournament with everything muted on their shirts to try to make a statement, the tweet essentially said, man, if there was ever a team in a World Cup that was acting like they didn't want to be there, it was Denmark.
They boycotted scoring goals in this.
Is there something to that, Lars?
So, yeah, mentally,
Yeah, go ahead.
So no, Lars. What do you think?
So the players have been asked the question, and they insist that they can separate the things. But it's clear they went there knowing a large part of the population of the country didn't want them to go at all. Like there's a big section of the people of Denmark who feel that this tournament should have been boycotted entirely, and that the team shouldn't have gone. As I've said earlier, on the day of the first game against Tunisia, the Danish words for "not my national team" were trending on Twitter in Denmark. So has that affected them? The fact that they're constantly having to almost defend themselves for partaking in the competition at all? I don't know. It's a hard thing to prove one way or the other. The players insist that it's not made a difference and that they were just bad, and that seems to be. I lean towards that a little bit, and they were absolutely rank in this game, and beyond just the usual stuff about them not having a striker, they just didn't play well today.
I just wonder if there's something. It's not 100% of the issue, obviously, but things add up, and if that's an issue that was worth half a goal through the 3 games, it's worth half a goal through the 3 games, is not being 100% there. And it's not just when they're there, it's like the lead up. Part of being in a World Cup, even if you've played in 5 of them, Ronaldo, Messi, right? I mean, they still get up for these tournaments. If you're not getting up for it, if you're not psyching yourself out that I'm about to go play in a World Cup, and you're kind of like, I guess we'll pack our bags and go because we have to, it's got to affect your performance just a little bit.
Well, I would say it certainly is affecting when you're playing a team like Australia, who clearly are excited.
Who are
and
the 180
over the moon
opposite of that.
Right.
Exactly.
And they may not be anywhere near you in terms of quality or skill or potential, but all of that, hey, man, we're going to go 100,000% versus a team of guys that are like, we're here, but not everybody's real happy about us being here.
There are difficult opponents.
The mentality part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And the Australia kind of reminds me of U.S., right? Circa 2002, 2010.
They're very much a late 90s, early aughts U.S. national
team
vibe.
that Lars was talking about. That how did you describe
Kyle
him?
Beckerman?
Yes, but
11 Kyle Beckerman.
But there's something to be said when there are difficult opponents and there are good opponents, and those are 2 different things.
Yeah, it's a good way of phrasing it.
Right?
I like that.
Yeah.
And no, they fought for every ball and they were well organized, and they've got nothing to lose. They've got no pressure on them for any games, and but we can't fully excuse this nonsense from Denmark, because I was so disappointed. In the first game against Tunisia, okay, it's the first game, you're settling into the tournament. Tunisia were more aggressive than we were expecting, okay. And then you play against France, that's obviously very difficult, but there were sort of passages where they looked okay, they just couldn't finish. And then you're kind of expecting with that run-up that this should be okay now against Australia, because they have so much more talent on paper. But there were so many players who underperformed in this team now, in terms of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg kept misplacing passes. Mala on the left wing back, who's been very important for them, made bad touches. And it's not all on the non-striker situation. Christian Eriksen is a very gifted footballer, but he's not someone who can just do everything on his own.
And he's older.
Yeah, he's older, so he's good at moving the ball around. But when the people he's moving it to are all bad, then they are playing badly. Then that's not good. And I thought towards the end of the game, in the second half, they really lost their composure as well. I mean, they were misplacing easy passes. They started sending in a lot of crosses into the box, but Australia have a player who's the size of a house, in big Sutar at the back there. They're very happy for Denmark to keep flinging in crosses. They can clear those all day. They weren't moving. There was so much bad, you guys.
I just keep thinking back to that first game against Tunisia when Cornelius misses that ball literally on the line that was graded out at a 0.9 on the XG, and it was harder not to score it than to score it, because they would have won that game, and maybe that changes everything for them the rest of the tournament, or just puts them in a different mood. I don't know.
So concurrently with that game, France and Tunisia are playing, and the permutations are such that Tunisia, if they can manage to get one in against France and win that game, let's just say that's what they had to do. They needed Australia and Denmark to draw, and in the 58th minute of their game, of the Tunisia game, because France rolls out their B team and they don't look great. They
No.
look okay.
Well,
I really want to talk about
We'll
this
talk about
lineup.
France in a second. Let's talk
we'll
about
get
it in a
to it,
second. But Tunisia in the 58th minute scores a goal, and now they're winning 1-0, and it's 0-0 in the Denmark-Australia game. Now they're through.
Tunisia. Yeah, that's
And
true.
the fans are going bonkers.
Right.
And they wait 2 minutes, and then on the scoreboard they see that Australia now scores.
Yeah, watching
Denmark.
players on the bench watch television or people's cell phones.
Warming up. The guys were warming up and had an iPad.
Yeah, that was new to the World Cup. I don't think we've ever seen that before.
Modern technology.
Modern
makes
technology,
it so,
yeah.
Right.
That was interesting.
And so, and then, Australia held on, and Denmark at that point needed 2, and I think they were deflated a little bit.
Okay, Lars, can we please talk about Deschamps' decision to start this insane, weird, bonkers 11?
he just wanted to get them all on the field, I think. He just wanted all his dudes to have some World Cup minutes. But it was a strange lineup that we will never see anything like this again, I think is fair to say.
How many French players were playing out of position or a position they had never played before today?
Yeah, a couple. So one of the things was that Camavinga, the very young and very promising central midfielder for Real Madrid, started at left back for the actual first time in his senior career. I've looked it up. He's never played in that position before. I know that it wasn't a game that meant anything, but it's still kind of weird to throw.
Do they not
in.
have a backup left back they could have put out
No,
instead?
because of the injury to Luka Hernandez.
Oh, that's what it was. Hernandez's injury.
And
yes.
I don't think any of the center halves they've brought are sort of natural left back types. So yeah, Camavinga, and he looked so unhappy, man. It was just he wasn't terrible, but it was just he looked sad. Like he looked looked like he was. In
how
funk
unfair
and
is that to the player? Like like the kid's showing up in his first World Cup, and you're making him play a position he's never played before. That would suck.
Oh yeah, because Hernandez's brother is now his sub, and he's getting a minute, so they wanted to rest him. Right,
Yes,
exactly.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
sorry, but the weirdness continues because you had Veretout, Tchouaméni, and Fofana. That's fair enough. They're all. Fourth. You're playing 4-3-3. All your 3 midfielders are kind of central midfieldery types. That makes sense. But then Guendouzi started as a sort of kind of a left winger, but he was obviously running around a lot. I'm going to bring up his touch map here in a second just to get an idea. But my feeling was that he was a bit everywhere, which you could argue that is what Guendouzi does when he plays football anyway. But you had 5 anyway. You had 5 central midfielders in the lineup. Now one of them played left back and the other played out wide, but yeah, it was a goofy lineup, and I think it was designed mainly to get guys on the field.
Oh, I just want to on FOTMob, their player of the game, Camavinga.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they gave him the highest rating of 8.4.
Just because of what he had to go through to learn the position.
Well, I suppose that is like an algorithm thing that weighs up how many passes you've
I'm
played.
sure it is.
Touches, losses.
And I'm assuming he had quite a few good runs forward down that flank, I would imagine. I mean, he's a box-to-box midfielder normally, so you'd think that would be a thing that he would do.
Now, rarely do you have an opportunity in group play. By the third game, you totally know. I mean, even teams with 6 points at times don't know if they're going to finish first or second. And France was in a position. It wasn't 100%, but it was 99% probability. They just couldn't get trucked by Tunisia basically to finish first.
Yeah.
So why not rest your guys? I mean, you play in 3 or 4 days. Now you give them. You don't risk injury as well.
Yeah.
So then what? So, okay, to your point then why do you roll out Dembele and Mbappe and Griezmann to try to win the game at the end?
Because they
losing
probably
to Tunisia is embarrassing, man. Come on, you got to try to avoid that.
They like you have often said thought their B team could win the World Cup, but apparently they can't. So now we know
the idea that any nation has 2 complete World Cup teams.
I
that
still
can be
say
competitive.
Brazil might, except their defense would be. A
I
little
would
shaky.
also say in France's defense, I mean, the thing with the B team quote, and I've made this joke on Twitter myself, but like they are missing some guys due to injury now, and a B team, a France B team with 5 central midfielders in the lineup could definitely not win the World Cup. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, a properly aligned B team,
very,
maybe. Right. Okay.
Very, very, very strange. Right. I do want to mention just real quick at the end of the France-Tunisia game, there was something very odd. We had VAR after was the game officially over at that point?
This is I think, because I believe the French FA are lodging a complaint. They had a goal disallowed, and I think they're lodging an official complaint about it. I believe, I need to see this back and double check, but I think what happened was that actually the game had kicked off again after the goal before the VAR came in, which isn't supposed to happen. So there was something there, and VAR actually. I think it had gone full time. Now that can happen. I thought
so too.
VAR, we can have a VAR check after the full time whistle has gone. That can happen.
So why did they add time to the game?
Because of the VAR check.
But the game was over.
So it's all been very it was all a little bit chaotic, and actually I was kind of
good point.
I'm gonna have to go back and see some of this footage again. But the point is that the other point, one of the points are. The VAR decision, after all this drama, VAR after full time, all this sort of stuff, the decision was wrong. Like VAR got involved and made a wrong decision. I've conferred with the experts on this, and it's a wrong offside call and on Antoine Griezmann.
See, and that's the problem is I don't think they ever. I didn't have the sound up, and neither one of you confirmed this. I don't think they ever said, because it was either between offside or a foul by the French player on the Tunisian guy that headed the ball, and I was never clear as to what
he raised his hand.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You saw the highlights, and you saw they cut it off, but watching it live, you saw that he raised his hand. He went no goal like this, no goal, and then raised his hand.
Okay. He made the safe at first base signal,
right? Yes.
And then raised his hand for offside, for indirect free kick.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it was a weird set of circumstances, and I was never quite sure what difference it would have made anyway, as Tunisia at that point already knew that Australia had won the game, and there was no chance that they were going through at that point. Right. By the way, Australia has made it through to the knockout round, both with a total XG between their 3 games of 1.3. Their 3 games performance of XG was 0.4, 0.5, and 0.4. And for those of you listening who don't know what XG is, it's a new mathematical stat made for soccer, means expected goals. And so it essentially assigns a up to 1 point value for every shot in a game, and it kind of helps you make the decision on the quality of the opportunities over the course of a game, and you add them up. And so in the course of 3 games, essentially Australia had enough attacking value of 1.5 goals, and that got them through. But it is mixed with the fact that they also conceded the worst XG of the entire World Cup to this point at 5.97.
So they were expected to give up 6 goals and only score essentially 1 goal.
And still got through to the group stage.
And they scored 3 and only allowed 4 somehow. That's some gritty defending.
Lars, did I explain that okay?
Yeah, I find the best way, I mean, my preferred way of explaining XG
so no,
is...
Peter.
Well, no, it was, but it's just shot counting with the shots are weighted for how dangerous they are.
Yes, see,
basically.
Now I understand.
Such a Scandinavian way to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the shot counts, but the quality of the weighted for the quality of shot.
Has IKEA considered hiring you for their instruction manuals?
Oh my! You've never seen the inside of my abode, and if you did, you would know that that's not a thing.
Oh, okay. So
why do you think there's a VR background on my stream here? I won't let anyone see the backdrop of my sort of home office area because it's haunted, guys.
France gets Poland in the round of 16, and Argentina gets Australia.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has any hot takes about that before we move on.
No, I mean, France is going to have to break down the Polish... I don't even know if you call it parking. I don't know what they are.
Yeah, no, Poland were real bad, and I would imagine France would get past them. The only thing is, I wonder if the upset could happen in the other game, because I just don't. There's enough quality on the field, you know. Messi at some point will do something, or maybe Di Maria will do something, or maybe Enzo Fernandez will score from range. But having watched all of Argentina's games, I am not 100% confident that they don't trip themselves up against, a defensive, gritty, deep, low block Australia.
Mm-hmm. They'll definitely make things very difficult for the Argentines, for sure. But we'll preview that game before that.
It
But
is
it's also one of those games where Messi could just whip one in after 5 minutes, and then everything we just said sounds stupid. So with that kind of talent on the field, you never really know. But I completely agree. It's I feel as someone who predicted them to go far, I still feel icky about that whole situation.
Okay, so there we are, set up for groups D and C. And when we come back from this commercial break, or whatever, water break, potty break, whatever we're going to call it, we'll preview tomorrow's group match day 11 and let Andy do his trivia question next over here on the Kick Around. So here we are, part 3, match day 10 of Qatar Kick Around. How many match days do we totally have, Andy?
Yes.
How many total match days? I think we're about halfway through this.
No, we are not halfway through.
We're not? We're not?
Well, in terms of dates.
In games.
We're
like on...
I think there's 62 games.
There's 64.
64, okay.
Right. We've got to be at 32 at this point, right?
16... I don't know.
Okay.
You finally
32.
broken Andy's sort of scheduling
We're at
and
40.
permutation and rule.
We're at 40.
Yeah.
So there we go. We're actually in terms of actual line.
In terms of matches, yeah.
Okay.
Terrifying.
Not in terms of
terrifying
dates.
thought.
And we haven't run Lars off yet, so that's good.
Can I just interject? I just spotted this in the ad break now. That Wojciech Szczesny has told Norwegian TV, of all people, they got him in the mixed zone, that he bet Lionel Messi €100 that the penalty wouldn't be given, presumably during the VAR check.
So he owes him $100, but he saved his PK.
Yeah,
That's
Szczesny,
awesome.
Szczesny having some light banter there, betting.
Wow,
betting
did
Messi.
he get in Messi's head?
Yeah.
This is genius.
That is genius. I'll tell you a short story. The one time my wife and I traveled to Italy, we were in Rome, and I was walking down one of the famous Roman streets, and I look, and there's this incredibly tall guy with a very attractive young lady. It's the middle of the day. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, man, I know who that guy is. And it turned out to be Szczesny because he was playing for Roma at the time, right? He was.
Did you recognize him, or somebody told?
No, I recognized him. Except it's so weird to see athletes in their street clothes.
Yes.
And here's the thing: he was dressed in the most European, annoying kind of quality, like super weird high fashion, walking down the street on an average Tuesday afternoon. the leather shoes and the kind of like waiter long pants that were super tight at the bottom and some sort of like metallic shirt. And,
plus, he's in Italy too.
Yes,
which,
he was like a Saturday Night Live character come to life. Lars, I don't know if that means anything to you, but it was very funny. And that was my one brush with Mr. Chesney, the goalkeeper. Okay, cool story. I'll tell it again.
No,
later
it's good.
on.
No, it made me think of. I once saw a footballer in the wild. Now it doesn't really count in the same way because it was after a game, so you would kind of expect to see him. But I thought of this when you say when they're wearing civilian clothing because I once saw the then Fulham midfielder Georgios Karagounis of Greece.
Wow.
Stroll out of Craven Cottage after a game I'd been covering there. And he was wearing normal clothes. And the reason I tell the story is his normal clothes was like a pair of very normal looking jeans and like a checkered shirt and a kind of suede jacket. He looked like a student on his way to like an indie concert or something. Or it was the most underwhelming dress that you can imagine a multimillionaire sportsman wearing. But maybe that was in the fashion in Greece at the time. Who knows?
Maybe.
All right.
Sorry. I
I
derailed us. It is time now for Professor Andy's World Cup trivia question and then the answer.
Let's get this one out of the way while Denmark's still fresh top of mind. Real quick, every World Cup since the FIFA rankings were introduced, there's at least one team ranked in the top 10 that is not a world power. That doesn't get out of group play. And they're typically those teams that are ranked top 10 that are not world powers are typically those dark horse favorites. Portugal in 2002, the Czech Republic 2006, etc. This year we had Portugal, Belgium, and Denmark all fit that description. Those were, especially Denmark, dark horse favorites for many people. They were ours. They were ranked 10th. They didn't advance. Australia ranked 38th. Did. Last World Cup, there was a team that was ranked 6th. They were one of the dark horse favorites. They didn't get out of their group. A team that was ranked 44th did. So it was a bigger upset.
From the same group.
Exactly.
I think I know who did.
It was a bigger upset than this upset now, Australia advancing instead of Denmark. This was considered a bigger upset. So tell me who that team was that was ranked 6th. Bonus if you can also name the 44th ranked team that did get out instead.
Lars, I have an
Peter,
idea.
go first.
Is the team that did not get out ranked 6 Spain?
No, and they've won a World Cup, so they're considered a superpower.
Oh, yes. Okay,
these are teams that
did not
tier
have
2.
not won the World Cup, but are top 10. Okay,
yeah.
All right. Do I get a second shot at it, Lars?
Yeah.
You get to go first.
No,
you get to steal.
I think Lars knows it.
So
you
no,
get
I
to
don't.
steal.
I'm still working on it. I'm still thinking.
I'm thinking too. So it
The
had
computer
not
is creaking.
won a World Cup. I'm just looking at a list of teams. That's all I'm looking at. I'm trying to look at a list of.
It's not a superpower. They're ranked top 10. Every World Cup, we have one of these. I picked Portugal to be that team this World Cup. I was wrong. Portugal has advanced. It was Denmark, perhaps Belgium also.
Man.
And think of who was one of the dark horse.
Oh, okay. So
very relevant.
No, they
to
weren't
our
in the. No, I was
conversation
going to
today.
say Holland, but Holland wasn't in the 2018 World Cup. I don't know. Lars, do you know?
I've forgotten. Was it Portugal?
No.
No.
Portugal advanced. Ranked 6th was Poland.
Really?
And Japan advanced.
This is the thing that's the thing that blew my mind. Were Poland ranked that high?
Poland was ranked 6th in May of 2018. They were a
FIFA
dark horse
ranking, man.
favorite. They were a dark horse favorite, or one of them, along with Belgium. And they were terrible. And we're seeing they're terrible again. They're not ranked 6th anymore.
Who had the best dark horse favorites in this tournament?
The 2018 tournament.
They were in 2018.
Even for 2018. Come on.
Oh, they did because of they were
Lewandowski.
They had done very well in qualifying. They were undefeated through qualifying. Go back, see. Recency bias. Lars,
I'm gonna do this before our next broadcast. I'm gonna dig up my old preview material that I wrote for that tournament and see what I wrote about Poland.
Pundits forget about history. It's recency bias. And Japan was the 44th ranked team, by the way, that got out of group. So there you go.
I watched.
Lars.
I spent the tournament 2018 in Malta with John Arne.
Oh, see, you win.
Really?
Yeah.
You won.
We were doing like an online TV thing. It was really good. No one watched it, but it was tremendous.
But you were in Malta, so
I did great work. Yeah.
Was he any good on the air?
He was really good. He's one of these pundits who's really good when he's talking about, like, he's good at talking about his personal experiences, and he's good at talking about the player's mindset and all the sort of stuff that's lived experiences. He's actually better than you might think. I thought between me and him, me being the nerd and he being the one who's actually won a Champions League, it was a pretty good dynamic in that studio.
Just for the listeners who don't know who John Onorisa is, why don't you just tell him real quick his resume?
Oh, he played for Liverpool when they won the Champions League. That's the thing he's most well known for, and he also played for Roma and Fulham. He's a left back who ran up and down the flank with great enthusiasm and kicked the ball really hard. That's who he was. Yeah.
Andy, is it true that you dressed up as John Onorisa for Halloween the year you won the Champions League as a Liverpool fan?
No, but there's a whole story with him in that Champions League final, but we don't have to get into it because this is World Cup talk, not Club talk.
No, I'm curious now.
About whether he was going to start or not start. I mean, it was. Do you know that story, Lars?
I don't know which one you're referring to now.
There was a story about game time decision and starting, not starting. I got to go back and dig it out. I mean, I read it a long time ago.
All right, no problem.
I did ask him because when I was spent a lot of time with him and like actually spending time with an actual proper superstar footballer. I asked him like all these dumb questions like, what do you actually do in the daytime when you know you're playing a Champions League final that night? Like, how?
That's actually a really good question.
How do you spend your minutes? Like, how do you settle down? What do you do? And he said he mostly watched 24 in his hotel room. So he was channeling Jack Bauer, I think, in Istanbul.
The events of this episode took place between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. Jack Bauer and Chloe. That's awesome.
Exactly right.
John Onorisa is a Jack Bauer fan. Yeah. I never would have admitted it. You know, this morning it was interesting on American television. All the main morning shows, U.S. Soccer Federation, they dumped a player onto each one. And on ABC, Good Morning America, they gave them Tyler Adams, who, by the way, was fantastic on TV. But I just kept waiting because all of them, all the different ones kept asking, well, could you tell us what's going on with Christian Pulisic? Is he okay? And every time they would come to that question about how bad is his injury or how's he doing, these smiles would come across the players' faces because they all know what the injury is and they can't really talk about it. And they kept calling it pelvic contusion. And I just was praying that Tyler Adams would look and say, Robin Roberts, Christian's penis is just fine. He's going to be okay for Saturday. But that didn't happen, unfortunately. That was what I was hoping for. It was good interviews. All right, let's talk about tomorrow's.
I remember his penalty kick was saved. That was it. I knew that there was something about him, but yeah.
I shouldn't have asked Andy.
Yeah, sorry.
Now we got him
I got derailed. Yeah.
I told a funny story about penises, and he didn't even listen to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so tomorrow we have groups E and F, and there is some calamity in both of these. There's lots of permutations. Andy's calculator is going nuts. We'll start with the early. Again, they're doing it again. Why are they putting F early? It's Canada and Morocco and Croatia versus Belgium, and the Croatia-Belgium game is absolutely nutso in terms of importance.
I want to go first because I want to test Andy. I want to test permutations, Andy.
Okay.
Because I believe, and when I say I believe, I've seen it on the internet, and I believe it to be true.
It must be true.
There are two sets of results that will give us a drawing of lots tomorrow to determine position.
God, I want a drawing of lots so bad.
It is possible. The current fair play points between Croatia and Morocco is exactly the same. So assuming they either get no cards or the same number of cards, there are two sets of results that can give us the drawing of lots.
Belgium wins 3-0 and Croatia loses 1-0.
Yes, there we go. I've been on the internet. It can either to determine first place if Croatia wins 1-0 and Morocco wins 3-1. Croatia, Belgium 1-0, Canada, Morocco 3-1 to Canada. That will give a total draw for first place in the group, and for second place, if Belgium win 2-0 over Croatia, and Canada win 3-2 over Morocco, and again assuming no one picks up more cards than anyone else, these two sets of results
Look at Lars
we'll-
coming
we'll-
up with chaos.
See, there we go.
permutations.
Permutations FC.
I knew
That's
the
really what we should
Eusebio.
call. We should have named this.
I knew the
podcast
Eusebio
Permutations.
trivia question earlier the week. You are now doing permutations.
Yeah.
Look what Andy has done to us, Lars.
So to simplify things, Croatia needs a draw to advance. Belgium necessarily could get eliminated with a draw because Morocco, even losing to Canada, could still have a better goal difference at 4 points than Belgium. So Belgium does have to go for the win against Croatia tomorrow to guarantee advancement. Morocco with a win is in. Same with Croatia.
They both could get through with a draw, assuming that Croatia and Belgium is a draw. They both get through with 5 points.
But no, Belgium. If Belgium beats,
both get through with 5 points. If they both end up with 5,
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
sorry. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Croatia, Morocco, and Belgium, all three, if they win, advance.
Okay. All right.
Canada's out.
Sorry.
That was unnecessarily brutal.
It was. I mean, that's
It's cruel. That is amazing how big the Croatia-Belgium game turned out to be, because I think we all thought by the time this game was going to take place, they were already both atop the group and it wasn't going to mean anything. But now we actually get a really good game with two, at least on paper, really good teams, and I'm kind of excited about that tomorrow.
Yeah, and just let me tell you, I'm I'm big on Croatia here. I really think this. I'd be baffled.
They're two old teams.
Yeah, but I just think Croatia looked so much more impressive in their performances so far, and I don't know if we got betting people listening. I'll be on some kind of Croatia variety here. I'm not quite sure exactly what the bet will be.
Morocco could win the group too, and that may be one of the biggest surprises of the tournament.
I'd love that because I was thinking, like, what's my biggest sort of positive surprise of the tournament in terms of performance? And I think Morocco is one of the big, like, didn't see this coming because, again, I remember doing preview material and thinking, wow, there are actually quite a lot of good players on this team. But I just didn't think it'd hang together that well since they sacked their coach recently. But both against Croatia and against Belgium, they were really solid off the ball and really well positioned and well drilled in terms of how to keep the right shape and stuff. And if they can keep doing that, they have some individual talent that can do stuff going forward. So I'm really hoping for some kind. It would be amazing if we could get a deep run from Morocco. That would really make my tournament.
And working against Belgium, because Belgium needs Morocco to not win, is Canada maybe playing some guys so that they can get some World Cup minutes.
Right, just to make them feel good about
That's a
themselves.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right, Group E is also, in its own way, bizarre because we are also facing a reality that Germany may not get through, but they do have Costa Rica as their opponent, and Spain and Japan are facing off against each other. These are the 1 p.m. games.
Every team has a chance or would advance with a win. The exception being, nope, just about every team can advance with a win, including Germany. If Japan and Spain draw, that puts Germany at 4. That puts Japan at 4. And if Germany wins, they're at 4-2, and they would be tied on goal difference. So then it comes down to how many goals did Germany score in their win and how many goals did Japan score in that draw. But essentially, if you win, any of these 4 teams, if you win, you're through tomorrow.
How would Germany go through if Japan loses? Because currently
Japan has 3 points.
Right. No. Oh, 4 points. They would be on 4 points,
Yeah.
Japan on 3.
Yeah, the
Okay,
issue for
right.
Germany is if Japan draws. Now, this is how Germany doesn't advance if they win, if Japan beats Spain.
Ah, okay.
Because Spain has such a superior goal difference because of their 18-wheeler of Costa Rica. I have to remember, it wasn't a trucking. It was an 18-wheeler.
Amtrakking of the
Yeah,
seagulls.
right. Amtrakking, right. Longboat, I think, is what you call it. Longboating. So that gives Spain the advantage there. Spain can essentially lose and still, but it's for first place.
I know they play Germany, but there is a world where once again Costa Rica could win their group and get out of the group, just like they did in 2014.
Yeah, and that group had
which was
Italy,
an official group of
and
death.
England,
Yes,
and Uruguay,
and Uruguay.
Yeah.
Yes, insanity. That would be nuts. You have any predictions, Lars? How this is going to play out tomorrow?
I think Germany will be fine. Famous last words. Maybe I should go
Yeah.
and stick a fiver in Costa Rica.
You have to think that a national team with the prestige and the pedigree of Germany and the players and an old Costa Rica team that needed one shot, last shot of the game to win basically against Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Germany has for Germany, the complicated matter here is that if Japan pulls off an upset against Spain, they're done, even if they win.
Yeah,
Right.
I just don't see that happening. I mean, we've had a couple of interesting comments on this during the stream here with RJH Golf suggesting that I think Spain has looked the best in the tournament so far and wondering what we had to say about that. And I think that's a good talking point to bring up now right at the end. Spain are really interesting to me because look the best team is a good phrase for it, because when you watch them play, they're one of the very few, maybe even the only team in here that kind of looks like a club team in how well coordinated they are, how well they pass the ball to each other, which makes sense because the midfield three play together for their club team anyway.
The midfield is insane. It's looking really good. It's rivaling the U.S. midfield for. I'm just kidding. No. The Spain. And all kidding aside, the Spanish midfield looks really, really good.
So they move the ball around in a way you rarely see in international football.
Yeah.
It's more a theme you see with club teams who train together every day, basically.
Yeah, right. And, you would think Brazil, 2 wins, 6 points, but they've looked more efficient than great. But Spain has looked, yes, they've looked, but, they had their moments against Germany but no team's been perfect so far. And this is the thing. In World Cups, this is what happens. And you'd have to go back, I think, probably to 2002 to name a champion that really looked the best of the lot after 2 games too.
Good point.
Spain might be looking the best. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go far.
Tremendous historical knowledge, Andy. I'm a huge fan of it. You're completely right, and it's a very, very good point. And I just think the combination of being a little bit unreliable up top and having that sort of slightly goofy Rodri at center half situation at the back, which
is working so far, but
yeah, and I increasingly think it's going to be France just because the talent's there when the A team's playing anyway,
right?
And they just don't look like they're going to trip over themselves this time, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
And if
and
they
Mbappe.
don't, yeah, and they have Mbappe who can turn any game, and they have a pretty solid defense. So, but it's a really intriguing. We're intriguingly poised, I think, going into the knockouts for sure.
Yep.
Okay, very good. There we go for Matchday 11 predictions and discussion. Lars, thank you very much, my friend.
Anytime,
Always
guys.
It's great. This has been so much fun. It's great to talk to you every day.
I feel like we picked up. We started low energy on this episode, but it got going after a while.
It's once we started railing on Poland, we all just felt the energy.
We could all agree on just how bad they were and how.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm also very frustrated about the Danes. But here we go. Great to see
Sorry
you guys
about
again.
Your Danes. Yep.
Yeah, another big day.
I
of
predicted them to
exciting-
go to the final.
I
You should
know,
feel bad for me.
But for him, it's brethren. For Lars,
it is.
I mean,
the
that's
closest to us that are in the tournament.
All right.
That's a Nordic.
See,
country.
I thought all you Scandinavian countries hated each other.
Nah.
No, they're tight, man.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. You should just make one big country.
All their flags, they're similar. The colors are different. And so they're very united in who they are, right, Lars? I mean, you have a certain kinship.
We touched on it before the show. I mean, the languages are very similar.
Do you guys claim Bjork?
No, she's Icelandic. Come on. That's
Is that not part of the same thing?
Oh, are they the outcast? Oh, I see.
No, I
see how it is.
no,
You're
listen,
like shoving them aside.
No, I would say the Nordics and the Scandinavians are two different things. Like Scandinavia is sort of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and then if you want to say the Nordics, then you include Iceland and Finland, and I guess the Faroes. Although the Faroes are kind of Danish. Anyway, that's the topic
Social
for a different
studies.
pod.
It is.
Yeah.
It's interesting that
Kinda
you don't
sounds
consider Finland then Scandinavian. Nordic, but not Scandinavian.
Yes.
Okay.
And when I lived in Finland, I really annoyed some people by saying that, but it's
Yeah.
just geography. Like that's not.
Oh,
that's not my fault.
they don't want. Okay.
They want to be part of the crew.
Andy, it kind of sounds like
Interesting.
he treats Iceland like Aggies.
Right there. No.
Do you guys like Icelandic jokes? Like we make Aggie jokes?
Well, maybe we should, because it is a country where like the people who were banned from the people who got outcast by the Vikings and stuff had to hot-foot it to Iceland. So the sort of the genetic how that country started out is.
We shall have a podcast just about
We
this.
should. We should have like
Fascinating.
kick around social studies with Lars. We should do that.
We would all
sometime.
get canceled so fast, man. I
Probably.
mean, that is not going to be very
We're
good.
already on the
Lars,
edge.
go eat some dinner, late dinner,
do,
late
guys.
time snack, take a nap, and we'll speak to you in the morning, sir.
See you guys.
Andy, thank you very much. Thank you guys for watching the live stream, listening to the pod. You guys are fantastic. We love and adore you. Get stuck in and win your 50s.